Hi Fad Campers, it's Grace here and I have some new stand-up dates I'd love to tell you about. If you're based in the UK, I will be doing some dates in July and August and I'd love to see some of you there. I'll be in Leeds doing a work in progress with Amy Annette on July 4th in the Hyde Park Book Club. I'll be in Brighton on July 6th with Alison Spittle in the Comedia Comedy Club, and I'm going to be doing my own work in progress show in Glasgow on July 12th at Good Egg Comedy. Also then, I will be at the Edinburgh Fringe, of course, for the entirety of August, from July 30th to August 24th. I'll be at the Assembly George's Square, the Crate, 10 to 3 every day. Would love if you could tell anyone you know who's going to be at the Edinburgh Fringe to come see my show. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
Hello, Fad Camp listeners. It's Grace here. Let's be honest, your favourite Fad Camp presenter. We won't tell Conor. As you might know, I am a stand-up comedian and I'm currently working on a new show. I'll be performing all over the UK over the next few months, whipping my new show, Did You Hear We're All Going to Die, into shape. I would love to see some of you there. It's going to be great crack. So I'll be at the Leicester Comedy Festival on February 6th. In London, I'll be at the Top Secret Comedy Club March 6th. The Glasgow, I'll be at the Glasgow International Comedy Festival March 15th. And I'll be at the London Irish Centre with Alison Spittle on March 27th. That's going to be a great gig. There'll be even more shows announced for further months. All of the details and tickets are in the link on my Instagram bio, which is Grace Mulvey Comedy. So just go to my Instagram account, Grace Mulvey Comedy, click on the link and you'll get all the details. Thanks.
What's the best way to reduce? Eat plenty or starve yourself?
30 pounds in just 18 weeks. Jenny Craig totally worked.
I love to eat, but overeating made it impossible to lose weight.
My body wants bread, and I'm gonna give my body what it wants.
Oh my God.
So I lost
Naturally.
Medical studies prove that overeating is the number one reason for weight gain. If you need to lose weight, use safe and natural springs away and bring your weight down without the use of
Welcome to Fad Camp, a podcast that throws a comedy eye over our societal obsession of diets. Now, a little disclaimer, we are not health experts, but we are fad diet connoisseurs. I'm your host, comedian Grace Mulvey.
And I'm your co-host, Conor Dowling.
Welcome to Fad Camp.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Fad Camp. You're all very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Grace, how are you getting on?
I'm grand, Conor. We've been giddy little geese before this record.
I know. Grace had a quick word with me and was like, tone it down, mister.
You need to calm it down. Sometimes I did joke with Conor that maybe we should just release some of our, before we actually record, just what we talk about. It's the most insane batch of stuff because we haven't seen each other in ages. We'll just end up being like, blah, 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 and then you're like, okay, record. So just want to say that's the behind the scenes.
Totally. And then there's the other kind of episode where Grace and I meet up on Zoom to talk about Fad Camp. We end up having the most intense, like, personal discussion for an hour, and then without recording, and then going, oh, that would have been a pretty good episode, but I don't know if we're ready to share some of those personal things.
Honest to God, I feel like we need a bit of like time. Like sometimes when we're talking about our opinions on things or like maybe something we're going through, we're like, God, that would have been a great Fad Camp episode, but I really can't talk about it on air yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready. I need 4 more years of therapy before I'm ready to talk about that publicly. You know,
that'll be Fad Camp season 69 or something like 69.
Exactly.
What kind of number is that?
The sexy season. Okay. Well, folks, you know, today is a slightly different kind of episode. We're going to be talking about movies. And no, this is not The Jump, Grace's rival podcast.
Sorry, you mean my other excellent podcast out there, Conor? Don't tell me you're jealous of Niamh.
Oh, damn you, Niamh.
Co-host of The Jump.
We should get Niamh on at some point to have a little crossover episode. But for those of you who don't know, Grace and I are screenwriters, movie buffs, filmmakers. And today we're going to look at some interesting films that have strong themes around body image, particularly through the lens of body horror.
Oh, stop the lights. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, like I'm curious like what your kind of experience with the subgenre of body horror is like kind of before like The Substance and that kind of thing, or your kind of idea of it.
Honestly, I don't know if I feel like you're probably going to tell we're going to talk about this today, obviously. But I'd say there's a lot of body horror that I didn't even realize was body horror, would be in the genre. Sure. But I am totally will admit this, I'm an absolute scaredy cat when it comes to horror. I get so freaked out by horror. I love a thriller, but I get so freaked out by horror.
Amazing.
However, I went to see The Substance, and after The Substance, I'm pretty sure I called you probably at some point and just was like, this film has just... There's sometimes films and TV, when they're at their best, can relay something that you're like, oh my God, that's what I do, or what I've experienced before. And The Substance did that. So I'd be so interested to see. I think horror is a really underrated genre. And I think sometimes it can tackle these issues that we've just never seen it that way before.
Absolutely. Well said, Grace. And I also would like to say straight off the top, if you're listening to us talk right now and you're like, oh, I'm not really that much into horror, I implore you to keep listening, because I feel like this will speak to you whether you're a horror nut or not. But we originally got excited about this topic for the show after we both saw The Substance separately. I think we both saw it on the same weekend in different cities, and we got in touch with each other. And I remember watching it being like, oh my God, I know Grace doesn't love horror that much, but she has to see this. And before I could even text you, you were on to me telling me how much you loved it. So we're going to chat about The Substance and some other body horror type movies. We'll try to avoid spoilers where possible, but if you haven't seen The Substance, I highly recommend checking it out with the disclaimer that it's really intense. It is very intense, and even me...
It's very intense.
Yeah, even me who loves horror, it was super squeamish for me.
Let's just say I couldn't eat eggs for a while after seeing that film.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, if you don't want any spoilers, do pause, go see the film, come back. But if you have no intention of seeing the film, you can listen to this and you're still going to get a lot out of it.
So I'll just tell you what The Substance is, and then we'll maybe talk about some other films. We'll talk about body horror in general, and then we'll come back around to some more kind of specific research I have on the film, right? So just so people know what we're talking about. So The Substance is a satirical body horror movie directed by French director Coralie Fargo?
Who knows?
Starring Demi Moore, and Margaret Qualley. And Demi Moore plays Elizabeth Sparkle, who is an Academy Award-winning actress struggling with aging in Hollywood. And after a particularly bad day, she's introduced to The Substance, which is a drug whose purpose is to make its users younger and more beautiful. The film is a critique of the unattainable beauty standards of society, the movie industry, and how the whole celebrity system, and particularly its effects on women. The film has been nominated at this point. We're talking about this in February 2025, probably releasing in, hang on. The film has been nominated for a bunch of Oscars, BAFTAs, and recently Demi Moore won a Golden Globe for her role.
Yep.
And this leads me on to I want to talk a little bit about how horror has been perceived or recognized in the Academy Awards. The Oscars in particular. Like you said, Grace, there are so many horror films. Horror is a very successful genre, but in terms of critical acclaim and awards, it usually doesn't get that much attention, right? So it's quite significant that The Substance is nominated in 2025 for Best Picture, among other awards. But the first horror film that was nominated for Best Picture and nominated for a bunch of awards was The Exorcist, in 1973.
Oh my God, yeah. That film freaked the hell out of me.
Absolutely. It's terrifying. It's such a terrifying film. And then we had Jaws in 1975. We had The Silence of the Lambs was a big one. And that won the major categories. That won Best Picture, won Best Director, Best Actor, Actress, and Adapted Screenplay from the book. Then we had The Sixth Sense in 1999. Then jumping way ahead, we had
I forgot
Black
about that.
Swan.
Sorry, I just forgot about that.
Sorry,
film.
Yeah, totally. And The Sixth Sense actually didn't seem to win any Oscars, but it was nominated for a bunch. Black Swan, which I think is an interesting one because that actually has a lot of kind of body horror and stuff around the issues women face with, body image and, the perfection and all of that kind of thing. And that won Best Actress for Natalie Portman. Next up was 7 years later in 2017 with Get Out. Which,
Get Out for me is the big one. I always remember Get Out. I just think Get Out, like, again, shows how horror can tackle a subject as big as racism in America. And I don't know, relay it in a way that makes it more, I don't know, stark for people. There's something about it that, like, really got to the heart of the issue.
I know. And it's like, you know, because I think it's like, we don't go to the cinema to, like, learn things. Like, we don't think we do. Like, that's, you go to school, people lecturing you, that's kind of like boring. You go to the cinema to be entertained. But like, really skillful filmmakers can kind of smuggle these ideas into their movies, you know, and you come out learning something almost without realizing it. Like, that's when it's like really like powerful, you know. So that was in 2017, and he won Best Original Screenplay. Jordan Peele won that. And now 2025, we've got The Substance, you know? So like, it actually is very meaningful when a horror film is nominated for Best Director, Best Actress, and Best Picture, you know? So I think that's really exciting. And now I just want to give you a little bit of a definition of body horror. People have kind of heard me mentioning that a bit. Like, body horror is a subgenre of horror fiction that intentionally showcases grotesque or psychologically disturbing violations of the human body. These violations may manifest through mutations, mutilations, zombification, that's a fun word, gratuitous violence, disease, or unnatural movements of the body horror. And it was first used to describe emerging subgenres in like American horror films, but it actually has roots in like early Gothic literature, even like Frankenstein, you know.
Okay,
we can't talk about body horror without talking about like the godfather of body horror, who is David Cronenberg. Have you seen many of his films, like The Fly?
No.
Or Videodrome?
No.
Oh my God. Like, so those are like the ones that a lot of people would have seen like the 80s and 90s and just been so freaked out by. It really kind of like changes the game. And, you know, he famously said he thinks of horror films as art, as films of confrontation, films that make you confront aspects of your own life that are difficult to face, you know? Okay. One of the things that, you know, in the definition of body horror that comes up a lot is this idea of uncontrollable transformation, which is something that, you know, we see in The Substance.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's really, it's like a terrifying thing. It's like, you know, we're used to seeing horror films where there's like an external killer, you know, chasing people around. But what if the horror is like coming from within your own body? That's like such a terrifying idea.
And that is why I suppose we're talking about it today, because it is body image. Like, which is the fact that, like, even if you think of that where it's an uncontrollable transformation, what is really weight gain sometimes to us? What is puberty? What is all of these changes that happen to our body that shape then the way that we see ourselves or judge the way we see ourselves? And a lot of the time it's that uncontrollable changing of your body and that we just want to control it, you know?
Absolutely. And when we start trying to control it and it fights back, that becomes such a horrifying thing. And, you know, we see it in all of these movies that I'm going to talk about. One of my earliest memories of this kind of genre is actually, just on a side note, on David Cronenberg. One of his more controversial body horror films is a movie called Crash. Okay, not the movie with Sandra Bullock.
Oh my God. Conor, I know the one you're talking about. Is this the one where people get off on watching car crashes?
It's more so that people who have injuries from car crashes engaging in like sexual activity that is
really?
Like, it's like a fetishization of car crash injuries. I remember seeing that on TV by accident as a kid. And
as a kid?
Traumatized.
What age were you?
I was probably like 9 or 10 or something, and I was just like,
you know what? I have to say,
WTF.
We should do, and this is nothing to do with diet culture, so actually, like, don't know why I'd even link it to Fat Camp, but there has to be an episode somewhere out there, or a podcast, about a film every person saw way too young that has shaped the way they think. Because every kid, every person I know as a child saw a film they shouldn't have seen.
What was your film?
I'm trying to think, actually. I think it was Interview with the Vampire. And
Amazing.
This is a funny thing, actually, and this is, again, going a bit off topic, but it does relate to food. I have a weird thing with textures of food, right?
Sure.
I don't like pasta, which I know people are like, what? And pizza and stuff. And the reason is, it's not even that I don't like them. It's if something is too doughy. And that's because I was eating spaghetti when I was watching Interview with the Vampire.
Oh,
and I
will do it.
remember a visceral reaction I had. And I don't remember what exactly was on screen. But again, it's like that thing of like, what we watch when we're young or what media we take in really does affect us. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's like anything to do with food, but for me, it definitely did have a thing with food. And to this day, sometimes I still now, if I see food a certain way, I can't eat it. Like, for the substance, it took me a while to eat eggs again, as I joked earlier, but it really did. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's also one of the interesting things about kind of delivering messages through films. It's like, you know, if you read a document with all of like with a whole bunch of information, you're less likely to retain that information than if it is, you know, portrayed to you in maybe an entertaining way.
Oh, yeah.
Or a shocking way. A shocking way will often make you retain information more longer. And in your case, it sounds like that moment in that film, while eating the food, it kind of then sort of latched itself on to that, you know, thing, right?
I can place the moment it happened. Like, totally. It's so weird that I'm like that now. You know?
It's so powerful, and I really think the substance is so great at doing that in a way. Like intentionally doing that, particularly with those textures and with those kind of sensations to really invoke that squeamish feeling, like that thrilling feeling, but then also make you kind of remember what the film is trying to say. Two more movies to touch on. I hope people are adding these to their watch list on Letterboxd. Follow me on Letterboxd. Grace, when are you going to have a Letterboxd?
I know,
need you to have one.
I'm too much of a loser. I don't know. I don't get it.
Oh no, I didn't get it first either, but then I now I'm obsessed. But basically, one of my earliest memories of this kind of body image horror comedy kind of movie was a movie I watched a million times growing up called Death Becomes Her. Do you know that movie?
I mean, I rewatched it not so long ago, and I will say the fat phobia at the beginning of that film is next level.
With Goldie Hawn. Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know the movie, it's directed by Robert Zemeckis in 1992, and it's basically about like a fading actress in search of immortality, and she discovers this potion that will kind of make her young, but of course it has negative consequences. It's very campy, it's very silly and over the top, but I loved it. I know the exact scenes you're talking about.
For sure. No, it's still a very entertaining film. Like, do not get me wrong, but I'm just saying it's so funny when you look back on some stuff and you're like, God, like at the time that was just seen as totally fine. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting, when I was watching The Substance, I was thinking like, oh, this is kind of like a modern, like ultra horror version of Death Becomes Her, like in a lot of ways, like, you know. But here's another recommendation for you. This movie that just came out called Night Bitch. Have you heard about that with Amy Adams?
Oh, Amy Adams, yeah, I have heard about it. Yeah, I don't know, I haven't seen it. Is it good?
Yeah. So the movie Night Bitch, it's about a new mother played by Amy Adams who has put her art career on hold to become a stay-at-home mom for her 2-year-old son. And because her husband is away on work trips most of the time, she's responsible for most of the caregiving for the boy. And as she starts feeling isolated from her artistic identity and resentful of what she sees as the expectation to, you know, be friends with other mothers and just take care of her child, she frequently fantasizes about lashing out at people around her, and she begins to experience surreal physical changes, including patches of fur on her body, the growth of a tail, and heightened senses. You know, so it's this very kind of primal, animalistic kind of transformation that happens. It's really interesting, and I think it's like I think it is resonating with a lot of like mothers, you know, and couples who see it, and you know, it kind of gives voice to that struggle, like that people go through.
Hi, Fad Camp listeners. Myself and Conor finally got our act together and we have official Fad Camp merch up for sale. We are so excited. Now, my particular favourite is the enamel mug and the beanie, but we have loads of products for sale. So if you want to get any of our Fad Camp merch, please go to fadcamp.myshopify.com. That's fadcamp.myshopify.com. You'll be able to find the link to where our merch is for sale in our Instagram bio and our TikTok bio, as well as we'll have a little link in all of our episode descriptions.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode. If you want to hear more bonus exclusive content for Fad Camp, make sure to log on to Head Stuff Plus, and for as little as $5 a month, you can support our show and other shows in the Head Stuff Podcast Network and hear exclusive content from Fad Camp. That's bonus episodes, photos, videos. It's a really good time, so we hope to see you there. Now, back to the show. Grace, what kind of reaction did you have to the substance?
Well, okay, so as I mentioned before, I'm not a horror person. I am very squeamish. But Demi Moore is the person that I absolutely adore acting-wise. Anyone who's ever seen G.I. Jane will know what I'm talking about. And I just was like, I have to see this film. I've heard so much about it. I genuinely have never been more uncomfortable for like the 2 or so hours that I was in that cinema. But it's very funny. Like, as in, like, I'd be laughing out loud, but I was squirming in my seat because of how much body horror is in this. What I will say, and the reason I thought it was such an important film, there's one scene in particular that I found just to be so true. I actually found it kind of like just really upsetting. Because I saw myself in it, and I think that's always the best way of sometimes seeing art, is going like, oh, I do this, and I actually have never seen that on film. So in the film, Demi Moore, the whole thing about the substance is that basically she spends 1 week as herself, which is herself in her 50-plus body, and then what happens is she has, like, within her body has mutated this sort of other woman, a younger version of her, who then goes out and lives for a week. So the week that the younger version of her lives, she, as the older version, is sort of like, I suppose, like, out of it. She's like, she's not conscious, and vice versa. You can't take another second more than a week. If you do, then it has repercussions. But anyway, when Demi Moore is herself in her like 50-plus body, what I found so interesting is she didn't want to leave the apartment. So the whole point is that once she's in her quote unquote best self body, which is the younger version, she's out and about, she's on camera, she's, people love her. She's like the absolute epitome of what we consider beautiful. But when we're back in Demi Moore's body, she's getting more depressed. She's really attacking herself. You know what I mean? Real negative talk, staring at herself in the mirror, won't leave the house, binge eating. And I think there's a particular scene where she decides that she's going to go out and meet up with this old classmate of hers who clearly fancies her. And he asked her out. And at the beginning of the film, she wouldn't, kind of even bother with this guy. But she really now is like, I really want some attention. I really need this sort of validation. And she's dressed up to go out, and then she kind of stops at the door and she goes back and checks herself in the mirror again, adds more makeup, and then goes out again, goes to leave the house again, then no, still not happy, goes back. And then she starts adding so much makeup onto her. And you really see the violence in it. Then she starts wiping the makeup off her and redoing it again and adding things to her outfit or taking things away from her outfit. Basically, she finds herself so grotesque that she starts attacking herself, both verbally and physically. And the way she wipes the makeup off her, it's like aggressive. The way she's like tearing at her clothes, it's aggressive. And I think when she was doing that, I was completely remembering times where if I was going to maybe out with some mates or just some event and I didn't like how I looked, or clothes weren't fitting right, or, you know what I mean? And we've all had that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The viciousness with which I would attack myself, particularly verbally, do you know what I mean? Like emotionally. I had never seen that on film. And when I saw that, and she didn't go out, by the way. The end of the scene, she does not leave the house. She's too disgusted, and that's the word, disgusted at herself. Mm-hmm. There is something, and then she starts again almost attacking her body with this food, and I just was like, I've never seen this on film. I've never seen this in a scene. I've never seen someone attacking the way they look in private when no one else can see. And I actually was like, in a weird way, I thought, is that not just me? I thought that was just me that did that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in a way, it was just really nice to actually see it, because I was like, oh, this isn't just me. I think millions upon millions of us do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I mean. Like a scene like that is, I think I don't know if any woman or man out there, and I wonder as a man how you react to that scene, but I certainly saw myself in it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think like that's part of what makes the film so powerful. It's like it kind of hooks you with like the big flashy kind of, you know, there's effects and the story and the transformation and all, but it is those moments that really, that's where it kind of, the universal kind of thing is like slipped in, you know, for you to see. Like that's the core of the film, like totally.
Yeah. And I think as well I will say for like, you know, women having a younger version of you out there, it's just a symbol of like, it's not even a younger version. It's really like the quote unquote, the better version of you. We all put on a mask to leave the house. And like, sometimes, particularly with diet culture, what I saw so kind of viscerally is that if you were to even take away younger and put thinner, you know, the thinner version of you, you think, oh, well, I'll live when the thinner version of me is alive and able to go out there, you know, instead of the fatter version of me, which is I'm going to keep indoors, you know. Yeah,
you're just going to hide away and rot, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. One of the things that I was doing some research and I came across an article in the Glasgow Guardian of all places. Ooh. And they singled out the use of the bathroom in the film, which I think is quite interesting because a lot of the film, like at least a lot of the horror kind of takes place in the bathroom, in the mirror. And, you know, it's also kind of a horror trope as well. Like, you know, people are alone in the bathroom. They think they're safe. The Psycho shower scene, you know, you think you're safe.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable, you're naked, and then something, you know, jump scares or pops up in the mirror and scares you. Obviously, this is kind of different. But what they say here is that using the bathroom as a location where the abuse, the physical and brutal violence on a woman's body happens is a powerful metaphor for how these unrealistic beauty standards have seeped into our private spaces. The bathroom is specifically a space designed for self-care, yet this is where we have to confront our naked bodies and unintentionally compare them to the people in the media we consume. The place that is then meant for self-nurturing privacy becomes a site of degradation and trauma. And, you know, yeah, right. Like that's kind of like,
I mean, sometimes like that's where you do realize that some people are incredible writers. That is exactly, you know what I mean? The bathroom mirror. We've all done that. That weirdly, the bathroom is like a weird space. Even, you know, if you're even at a party and you want a moment, you go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom to have this moment alone. And it's
when
so
you
true.
splash water in your face and look in the mirror and go, what are you doing with your life? I do that like at every party I go to.
Yeah. Where's Conor? Oh, he's just talking to himself in the bathroom.
He's just having a moment.
He's just having a moment.
But another aspect as well is how the director the director understands what's really disgusting is the way we treat ourselves, and particularly the way women's bodies are treated. And in other horror films, it's kind of common to use aging and the elderly, and like there's a film called X that came out in 2020 where elderly and aging bodies are used as a source of horror, you know, towards the younger kind of people. And it's like, that's a little bit more kind of exploitative. Like, you know, the other thing that I wanted to mention as well is like the gore aspect of it, you know? And this is kind of going back to what I said at the start, was like, because so many people will say like they don't like horror films, you know, when I tell them like I'm a big horror guy, and like they say that they're not big into like gore or violence, but I personally think, right, that a really skilled filmmaker can kind of get away with pretty much anything if it's justified by the theme or the story of the film. You know?
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think this film is transcending, like, because there's a million horror movies where someone's body transforms into a pulsating blob. You know what I mean? Like there are so many, like there, you know, if I had a nickel for every time I saw one of those movies, you know, but this has that kind of social and personal kind of story running through it that I think people will kind of will allow for that kind of gore. I think it's that when things are gratuitous gore or violence, I think that's when it kind of becomes a problem. But this is like reflecting the theme, so it becomes acceptable.
Well, it's that thing of like what we are willing to do to our bodies to become this standard of beauty that we think is necessary. And I think like the whole thing about, you know, how grotesque it is, it's sort of like, it's so over the top, but in a weird way, it just is, it's an overtop version of what we do, of what we put our bodies through in order to be this, I don't know, idealized version of ourselves. And like, you know, in our, like, for me, that's trying to be thin. What I've put my body through in order to try to be thin. You know what I mean? The violence of it. You know, you deprive yourself, maybe then you binge, maybe then you do insane exercises. Maybe some people start injections, whether it's like into their face, whether it's into their body, whether it's like extensions on your hair, whether it's like laser. And it's not that like any of these, again, are like necessarily bad. It's not that, you know what I mean? As in like, again, everyone's free to do to their body what they want, and I think we all just are trying to do our best. But this film is almost highlighting the violence we put our bodies through, and like, I think that's why the gore is actually earned. Where it's like I didn't mind it because it was funny, because actually I was watching it and I was like, that's why we made this podcast a comedy podcast, because we're like, this stuff is so ridiculous. We have to laugh, or else you just cry.
Absolutely. And I think it's like, even though there are those big kind of over the top gory moments that are quite shocking, and it does just keep kind of escalating. For me, I remember being in the cinema, and it's the smaller moments that were more kind of almost hyper realistic, like there's something where like a fingernail comes off or something like that. It's like things like that are just very visceral and kind of like relatable, you know, where you're just like, oh, I can imagine that so well. And it's those kind of things that were more affecting. And then something else that's popped up, I've seen recently online, everyone is talking about, like, there's a scene where Dennis Quaid is like,
oh, stop,
like eating shrimp, and that's bothering a lot of people online. I think Demi Moore said in an interview that was the part of the movie that grossed her out the most. You know. And it kind of goes back to you, like, you know, eating pasta, watching Interview with the Vampire, you know.
Where I'm like, oh, I hope this doesn't have any long-lasting effects for the rest of my life. I'm immediately picturing like 10 movies that I would love to just like show you and see your reaction of some of the food-related moments. Can I say, like, lads, when I say I was in the cinema, if you were in that cinema the day I went to see The Substance, I am sorry, because I was literally, Conor, I was out loud going, stop it. No. Like, it's I was shouting.
It's rare that a movie does that to you. You know, that's in my mind, that's a success. If a movie can provoke an audible response from you, you know, they're doing something right there. You know, you're either seeing something you've never seen before, or it's connecting with you on a really visceral kind of way. And I was the same. I was in the cinema, and me with a few friends, and we were all like, you know, covering our eyes, and we were like yelping out in pain and, you know, disgust. Like, but it just.
Can I ask you a question? Actually, how did you find the nudity of the film? It's when I first saw Demi Moore's body, like, by the way, an absolutely, obviously, a beautiful human, but I had not seen. I was like, oh, I actually haven't seen like a nude body that maybe is under the age of like 30.
Yeah.
As in, like, you know, on film.
Yes.
Like I have in real life. I've seen myself naked.
Or that's yeah. You mean you haven't seen anybody that's over the age of 30s?
30, yeah. That's what I mean, yeah. Like I, you know, on film, like all the nudity tends to be people who are maybe under 40 mostly.
Well,
anyone who's
okay.
like Jimmy Moore, who's like, I think she's nearing 60, but like what I mean is that I have not seen that. And I remember at one point she was wearing a dress that was backless. And I was like, oh yeah, I haven't seen like an older woman in a backless dress. As in like, you know, just a sort of slightly sagging back that isn't like this ultimate perfection back that normally we see on red carpets and stuff like that, you know?
I'm sorry, there's something that just popped into my head. Do you remember when Susan Sarandon wore like a very like low cut, like she was kind of like it was in a red carpet thing, and you know she's a woman like in her 60s, and the fucking media
uproar.
Like
yeah
absolute dirtbags. Like, I mean, so there is people, it makes people uncomfortable, and that's on them. That's their fucking problem.
Oh yeah. And
But
Susan Sarandon has great tits. Fair play to her.
Susan Sarandon, I will not hear a bad word said about Susan Sarandon. Have you seen Rocky Horror Picture Show? I mean, come
Incredible.
on. Absolute babe. But you know, yeah, I think it's such a good point to talk about in that movie. And like one thing I will say, in most movies, when you see nudity, people are always hairless. Sometimes the hair is removed in post. Sometimes hair is added in post.
You're joking, really?
In the 50 Shades of Grey movies, Dakota Johnson's pubic hair was added in post.
What?
Like CGI? Yes, that is true.
That is mad.
But whether there's any kind of, you know, special effect or visual effects trickery going on, there's makeup, there's lighting, and you know what else? There's body doubles.
Yeah.
There's often if you don't see the actor's face, it's not their body that you're seeing, right? So there's a lot of trickery going on that just makes us feel even more like, oh my God, look at these perfect physiques, you know, that's so unattainable, etc. Right? But I think the nudity in this film, it was done in such a neutral kind of way, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Even the way Margaret Qualley was filmed, like, you know, I think in the hands of another filmmaker, that would have been done in a much more kind of, I don't know, leering or kind of pervy kind of way. I can't think of.
Well, I'm gonna say the word probably in a male gaze way, as in like this is a female director, so it's like this is seen through a woman's eyes of the story. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Absolutely. So I think like the way bodies were showcased in this film, it's like you're being told that this is considered sexy and this is considered old, but it didn't feel super judgmental, or it didn't feel like it didn't feel like sexualized or something. No. Like I remember having that conversation with friends after the movie. We were like, yeah, like clearly, you know, there's this workout routine thing that and
that's almost over the top, ridiculous sexy.
Exactly.
You know
but you're not being you're not being told like, look how sexy this is.
Yeah.
You're being almost told like, you're supposed to think this is sexy, but it's actually quite sinister and weird.
Yeah, it's sinister, weird, and it's also ridiculous. Like, as in, like, the more I watched, the more I was like, I just laughed because it's just so silly. And I think that's why that's how it gets across these things. It's like being like, this is meant to be sexy, but look how kind of stupid it is. You know?
Totally. Yeah. There's also a kind of a narrative whenever an older actress does any kind of, you know, mild nudity or like a sex scene or something like that, there's this narrative that, oh, it's brave, she's so brave for doing that. And that's so kind of, you know, condescending and patronizing. So, and even then, if this older actress is doing any kind of mild nudity or implied nudity or anything like that, you're still also having the makeup, the lighting, the airbrushing, the, you know, all of that to make it look as pristine as possible.
But so, Conor, what a great example of this, I always think about this, is Kate Winslet in Mayor of Easttown. I don't know if I've said this to you before.
Love it.
But on the promotional like posters or images, they kept photoshopping out her like eye wrinkles.
Oh my
like
God.
just like, and she just was like, no, put them back in. And she actually said, it's like, put them back in because I want everyone to know that this is an older woman detective. What's the point? She's like, I don't have my roots done. I kind of am walking around looking like shit half the time because that's the character. Yeah. And she's like, don't take that out. But it's that fear that Hollywood has of any sort of showing of age. And I also want to say that I think with Demi Moore, just to add on to this, and she did G.I. Jane, which is one of my favourite films. I haven't seen it in years.
I never knew this about you.
A universally panned film, but I like it.
Oh wait, I was just thinking of Tank Girl, that movie for a second. That's a different movie, but I know G.I. Jane, obviously.
Yeah. So she was in an interview, Demi Moore, and talked about how that film basically, because of the training she had to go through, like she trained like a Marine.
Right.
And, she lost an insane amount of weight because, listen, that's, and lost her, I think in the film they talk about her losing her period in it and stuff like that. And she said after that film, she really, because she had to go so hard for that, she said, I'm never doing that again. And she was like, and I just stopped being afraid of what not doing that kind of exercise would do to my body. And it was just like a really interesting thing that she was like, after that experience, I was like, I cannot do this again where I'm losing that kind of amount of weight for a film because it so affects you on a human level. And on top of that, Margaret, Qualley, who plays like the younger version of her in the film, she had to stuff her bra for the film.
Or so it was like a prosthetic breasts apparently.
Yeah, but she was like, again, for that perfection that they almost have to make fun of, she was like, that's not my real chest. And I think that's what's so interesting is like everything that we are seeing on top of everything is like, it's an illusion based on an illusion based on an illusion. Yeah. It is, but it's incredibly difficult when we're surrounded by these images all the time to actually see what's real and what's fake. Yeah. When it comes to bodies and
and I think that's part of the beauty of this film where like, if you're able to, if you're not into horror, I think you'll be able to get past the bizarreness of that because what they're doing, it's so clever. And I think, with the casting of like Demi Moore, like as an audience member, you were sitting there with the pre-existing knowledge that, oh yeah, Demi Moore, she was like the it girl for like most of our childhood, let's say, like, you know what I mean?
She was in Ghost, damn it, the best film of our generation.
She invented the pixie cut, okay? Invented and perfected the pixie cut.
Perfected, yeah.
Right? It changed the world, that hairstyle. But and then like a lot of actresses, they get into the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the roles, the meaty, interesting roles start to disappear, So we have that pre-existing knowledge of her. We're going, where is she? Where's she been? Maybe she's retired. And then it becomes this almost kind of like semi kind of comeback movie. It's not really billed as that, but it's a bit of a comeback movie. And it's about that thing of an actress aging out of her fame and her beauty and all of that. So that adds this extra layer of meaning, I think, to the film, as a viewer, because no one's going to see that movie not really knowing who Demi Moore is. Maybe people who are like really
Gen
young
Z
or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that just adds so much to it. And obviously she's going in as an actress. There was a piece in an interview from the director saying that, like, they assumed Demi Moore like wouldn't be interested in this crazy movie at all, and they were like on the hunt, and they knew they needed someone like that had that kind of credibility, and that that would basically get people to watch the movie, like a star basically. And she said that they sent it to a bunch of people, and they're like, okay, well, let's send it to Demi Moore. Obviously, she's not going to say yeah, but so we'll keep looking, while she's like, while we're waiting for the rejection from her. And then when it came through, they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it just sometimes like a piece of casting just kind of hits a movie, like the right script, the right person. And it's magic,
Well, I think as well, like as she said in her Demi Moore in her Golden Globe speech, she said she was told by a producer
Yes.
years ago that you're a popcorn actress. Basically,
Yes.
you're never going to get an award. And this was apparently her first big award that she's ever won, which is incredible thinking she was in Ghost. Anyway.
Oh my God. Give Ghost every Oscar ever made. Okay.
Can I just say, like, I mean, if you're able to make pottery and make it look sexy, I mean, come on. Like, you deserve it.
I will also throw in, I would argue Ghost, it's a bit of a horror movie. You know what I mean?
Like, sure. It's
scary. That's a scary movie. It's beautiful,
terrifying.
but you can, you can watch it. Everyone can watch that movie. You know, it's just, I love it. I got nothing else to say. About Ghost.
But I think what's interesting about Demi Moore is the character in the film that she's kind of playing is, as you said, an actor from before, but now she's like this fitness sort of like star, which again, aerobics person. Again, a bit of a commentary on how a lot of actors now, if they can't find roles, like say like, or even like Jane, what's her name? Jane
Fonda.
Jane Fonda had her whole like fitness craze and stuff. But sometimes with older actors, or particularly actresses, the roles just aren't there. And they're almost like, shunned. They almost have to become these kind of fit influencers now. They almost have to have their own organic range of like, I don't know, incontinence nappies, whatever it is that they're going for.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I think it's interesting that for such a long time she wasn't taken seriously.
Yeah.
And then you have, and then she's offered this. And like, actually the actor that she's playing in the film is no longer taken seriously, has to be this kind of fitness influencer person, and is then thrown out in her arse. You know what I mean? And I think that's why it's great for her to come and play this, because actually that kind of did happen to her. She wasn't taken seriously. She was thrown out by Hollywood for getting older. And now she's come back and done this, which, and I know like I don't want to say it's brave. It's not brave to go out and be nude on film in terms of like being older, but it's brave to take on a part in a horror where actually this could have been called, when I say fallen flat in its face with a different director, it could have. This is a highly skilled film. It is funny. It is horror. It will make you think. And it has brought up more, to me, body image issues than most films that are just about eating disorders. I think one thing that I'm passionate about, and I actually have an idea for a short film that I really want to do, but like, I hate when a film is sort of like, and this is what bulimia is, and this is what... because, again, as you say, better to get the message across when being entertained. But if you're watching something that's just... which I'm saying there's great documentaries out there and all that, but it's harder to get people to sit down and watch it. Easier to get people to get a message across when they're being highly entertained like this. And there's a bit where she's going out near the end, and at this point she's just this kind of creature, and she feels disgusting, and she puts the lipstick on in a dress, and she's just trying to look nice, and people are reviled by her. And I just was thinking, like, for me, there have been times where you go out as a fat person, and I just think this happens to every human being, but certainly my experiences as even particularly when I was younger and I was bigger, where you feel like that. You feel like you're putting on a dress and you feel like you are this monster. And you're like, oh my God, what if someone says something to me? And people did. Like lads back in the day would say horrible stuff to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you feel like this monster, and you feel like everyone's looking and laughing at you. And what if they react this way? And that is how people feel sometimes when they put on a pound. The way they talk about themselves, you'd swear they were this grotesque monster. You know what I mean?
Or if they see a new wrinkle or, like something about their skin or whatever. So it affects...
They have a pimple. Like some people, when they have a pimple, they feel like this monster. That's what I mean about that feeling. Even though this is a ridiculous, over-the-top premise, everyone has had that feeling.
I think it's like, did you see the BAFTAs by any chance?
No, I didn't know.
Well, Demi Moore was nominated for Best Actress, but she was also nominated alongside Mikey Madsen for Honora. And Mikey Madsen won Best Actress. And that was kind of like hard to watch, I think, because she's kind of now the it girl, of now, basically, or of sort of indie film or whatever. So kind of like, seeing that kind of win last thing. Like it would be so amazing to see Demi win the Oscar in that room in Hollywood, because this is kind of ground zero, of this whole thing, and even if she doesn't win, it's still amazing that it is nominated, that it does kind of bring that conversation to light in a very visceral and memorable and entertaining way that people kind of just can't ignore it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Fad Camp. As always, we want to thank our producer Darren Lee. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Great ratings and reviews really help more people find the show, and it would mean a lot to us.
Make sure to share the episodes with friends and family or on your social media. Every listen helps.
And we absolutely love hearing from our listeners, so please get in touch with any of your diet stories on fadcamppodcast@gmail.com.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.